Hello, my name is David Henson, the secondary mathematics instructional content coach here at Region 11, and I'd like to go ahead and share with you the TEA assessment updates from TASM February 2023. Today's topics, we're going to talk about assessment in the reporting department and some changes that were made there. We're going to talk about STAR redesign, some general updates, and the online versus paper portions of it. We're going to talk about aligning assessments with instructional practices. And last, we're going to talk about some teacher opportunities and updates that you can help teachers get involved in the process. So let's first talk about assessment and reporting department. The big announcement is that they are actually streamlining the process by putting those two departments together. They traditionally were separate, but now it's going to be one big department of assessment and reporting. Assessment has the two parts of assessment development and student assessment. Those will be under that banner of assessment. And the performance reporting department will also be in the big group of assessment and reporting, but still separate from the assessment department. Traditionally, those were two separate entities, and in order to streamline leadership as well as improve communication between the departments, this was a move that TEA made for efficiency. However, the help desk still remains the same. So if you want to go ahead and use this QR code, this will take you directly to the help desk link where you can still get information regarding assessment and all of the parts of this department. It's a great way to get that information when you need it. When you do, make sure that you put the topic, your question, any relevant information, and most importantly, your contact information so they can get back to you. They are busy, but they do a great job of getting back to people. Let's just help facilitate that by letting them know where to go. So let's go ahead and talk about STAR redesign updates. So we did have some question and answers, and some of the common questions that were discussed from the field. Question: will students who are retaking the Algebra 1 EOC have to take the redesigned Algebra 1 assessment, or will there be an alternative test that aligns with multiple choice only format? The answer: students who are retaking the Algebra EOC will take the redesign. So in May, when we are doing the first implementation of the STAR redesign, everyone is taking it. So there is a very small percentage of students who will need to have access to a paper version of the STAR test this year. These items are actually now available on the STAR redesign website. So we have all of the ones before, the new question type online samplers. Now we have paper versions as well. So the full length is both online as well as practice. The new question types online samplers and has a paper version as well. And those links are now on that TEA website for assessment that you can go there and help students at least be prepared for what the test is going to look like when they take it. Some questions are going to require some minor changes. So the new item types definitely leverages off the online platform in order to accommodate the new ways we're asking questions. However, on paper, some of these things are going to have to be modified. So for equation editor and text entry, they're not going to require any changes. It's just you're going to have to write in the responses. So it is fill in the blank, more or less. The inline choice and drag and drop, students will response for each blank from a blank or list. So it's going to be like fill in the blank from a word bank or a item bank off to the side that they will have to use. So instead of digitally dragging and put it in there, they'll have to write it in. Or with I believe it says lettered options. We'll see an example of that in a minute. So they just write in the letter. The hotspot, there will be a shading. So they're going to be shading in or write their circle or write their responses to a given graphic that will meet that. For graphing and fraction model, there is no new item type equivalent on paper. So those items will be replaced by equivalent multiple choice questions that will assess the same skill or standard as the other question type. In the match table grid, these questions do not require any changes, because what you would do on a match table grid and multi-select, what you would do on the online platform, you can do on paper. So check boxes in or choose all that apply, things like that. So of this information, let's look at what these new item types are going to probably look like moving forward. So for the equation editor and text entry, the students are going, where online they would click on that limited keypad, what would go into the boxes. On the paper version, they're just writing it in. So if you have a student who needs writing assistance and is getting a paper test, that might be something you need to discuss about, but this is something that you need to actually be cognizant of moving forward on a paper test. They are actually filling in the responses. For inline choice and drag and drop questions, there's a little bit of a change. On the online platform, we were actually dragging boxes and putting into the open areas to fill in. For inline select, we would click a pull down and choose one of the responses that was offered. For paper, we have a little bit different look. Each of the responses are in a bank attached to a letter. In the open areas that you were supposed to put in your response, you are just going to color in the letter of the choice that you've made. It is highly recommended by TEA that if a student's taking a paper version of this assessment, make sure they have a chance to at least look at this item type for sure before they get to the test. Familiarity is something that they're going to need. But this is a lot different than, probably with the farthest difference between what they see online and what they see on paper, and it's just a familiarity thing. For hotspots, this one is probably the closest aligned, because where on online we click the spot that applies, on paper we're just coloring in that spot. So this is a great example of just the subtle difference between the two. It's probably the closest aligned of all the changes that we made, with probably the exception of the last one we'll discuss, this one. Match table grid and multi-select. They are going to look about the same. For online, we're clicking boxes. For paper, we're coloring in circles. Same way for multi-select. These are very similar in shape and scope. This will probably be, of all of them, probably the least difference between the two new item types that are being substituted due to paper. Aligning assessment with instructional practice. I want you to think about this. What is the best instructional practice? What does this look like in your classroom, your school, your district? What makes those instructional practices effective? How does this translate into increased student performance? We don't offer students multiple choice answers when we ask questions in the classroom. So these new item types definitely reflect more of the practice that we are more ingrained in our teaching styles and our teaching profession. Texas has a long history of summative assessments, starting back in 1980 with TABS, Texas Assessment of Basic Skills, to TEAMS in 1986, to 1990, the Texas Assessment of Academic Skills, TAS, to 2003, the TAKS test, and 2012 to now, the STAR, State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness. We've been doing these types of things for over 40 years. So we've gotten good at summative assessments. But so the assessment program has changed over 40 years, but does these questions allow a student to fully demonstrate their knowledge? And how could these questions better align to the practice that you do in the classroom? That's why we have these new item types. In the past, the exit level tabs in 1982 had this question asking to read a bar graph. And over time, it's improved. So up to TAS in the 5th grade, up to TAS in the 4th grade. And then to the tax test in 2003, to the tax test in 2009, to the STAR, where now we're doing a lot of different things. So we've increased the rigor over 40 years because we want kids to show their learning. We don't teach in a multiple choice environment. We teach in an open, rich math environment. This test is going to be better at reflecting that. This was a result of a required redesign of Texas's state summative assessment. House Bills 3906 in 2019 created the transformative changes to improve the STAR program, where 75% was the multiple choice cap. And we were to transition to 100% online testing, with the obvious exceptions being those students whose needs needed to be paper. Through year assessment pilot and interim formative assessments. So all of these changes that we've made are a direct result of House Bill 3906, and this is how we've done. Additionally, the federal program requires Texas to assess the breadth of the TEKS, which for RLA includes writing at every grade. So we've made changes based on STAR, but we're not the only ones. So the new item types meet our current rigorous requirements for STAR, but they have some additional benefits. They engage students in a higher level of thinking. They are more engaging and interactive. They're authentic and aligns with questions asked in the classroom. They're accessible. They represent different ways to demonstrate mastery, and they provide more information. They assess the breadth and depth of student expectations. And it's a little bit easier to spot some misconceptions than if they have a multiple choice test, they get it wrong. Are they wrong because of the item type? Are they wrong because of a guess? This way we kind of get some more information out of them because we're asking more from them. So the implementation of House Bill 3906 requires these new question types. I want you to think about how do these question types compare to the previous assessments? What makes these question types align with the best instruction? Do these questions allow a student to better demonstrate knowledge and mastery? And what additional benefits do they provide? So looking at this question, this is the text entry equation editor. And for mathematics, there is no distinction between text entry and equation editor as far as the grading and implementation. They all are going to look the same. They're going to have a bar to enter in information, and they're going to have a keypad with all the necessary things that we are to include into the answer. But the thing that really helps is in this case, there's a variety of ways that students are going to be able to represent their answers. For instance, in this one, traditionally, we would give them 4 choices, and one of them could be 12. X is 12. But in this response, what we're really trying to measure is can they write a one-variable, one-step equation? Not can they solve it, write it, and solve it. So here, we'll take a variety of things. The examples that are given are x equals 48 divided by 4, x equals 48 written in a division symbol, 48 divided by 4 written more as a fraction, 4x equals 48. Or if you want, x equals 12. All of these options are possible answers that are correct because they meet the standard of writing a one-variable, one-step equation to represent constraints or conditions within the problem. So for those students who could do the math but couldn't get what they produced to align up, or they couldn't recognize it on a multiple choice, this is a great opportunity for them to demonstrate their mastery and also improve overall. The next item type is the inline choice, where instead of just writing a long sentence on a multiple choice answer, we're now having them put small words or phrases that would make the answer. It's a lot less wordy than the traditional problem, which is I'm going to give you 4 2-sentence or 1-sentence responses and you have to pick the best one. And now we're trying to edit the written response, the overall question to reflect what we need to do. Likewise on this one, there are 2 components in this, and this would be categorized as a 2-point question. So let's say they get the first one correct and the second one wrong. Well, they don't get it all wrong. They're now to get, for lack of a better term, partial credit to actually more reflect how closely they are to getting 100% of the mastery, or more importantly, what do they know and what do they don't know. Hotspots are another one where students can go ahead and represent answers that would actually reflect what they need. Students choose their answer by interacting with the graphics, so it's not just which one doesn't apply, or the wonderful what is not question, which was always a fun one when I was in the classroom. But now they can look at graphics, graphs, multiple things, and just choose components that really reflect what the standard is asking to be assessed, not a multiple choice question that is really interpreting what that answer is to best fit. And then probably my personal favorite of all of these is this match table grid, because now it's about relating multiple relationships at the same time, not just one or the other, but what does this one response, how does it fit in the whole thing, in the whole scheme of things? These are 2-point questions. From what we understand, they are only 2-point questions based on what they said. So we can get a lot of good data about our students' progress towards mastery from questions just like this. These are all the types of new item types that we are going to see. Some notable exceptions, like fraction models, we'll see from grades 3 to 5 only, and match table grid we'll see from grades 6 through EOC, as well as number line we'll see from 6 through EOC. So they're not going to see all of these, but these do engage students in higher levels of thinking. They provide more engagement and interaction because they have to do something with the math visually. They align questions asked in the classroom with a more authentic response. It allows their answer to be the right answer, not one of mine. It's more accessible just because it's different, because our kids are versed in technology nowadays, and they provide more information on misconceptions. I can get more out of an incorrect response as far as where I need to move that child to help fill their conceptual holes. House Bill 3906 was intended to improve instructional alignment. STAR is designed to accurately measure student knowledge and skills. We know this. What we wanted to do is design it differently so that we can have a more positive influence on the instructional practices in the classroom. Measuring whether students have learned a concept well isn't the same as teaching it well. It's possible for the state summative assessment to be designed so it better aligns with strong instructional practices while accurately measuring the student for mastery. Teacher opportunities and updates. T-Trade is a part of an assessment literacy initiative. This is a focus on item writing for summative assessments. So in T-Trade, teachers are actually writing assessments and being trained on how to write assessments. The benefits of training teachers to write better assessment items is multiple. They improve their TEKS alignment. They use universal design practices. There's a best practices for item writing that they naturally be trained in. They can understand cognitive complexity and difficulty of a question and the role they have in making those questions. They can have an alignment to a specification. So not only talking about TEKS alignment, but the specificities that are involved. And they can understand the basics of, is a question appropriate to assess what you're targeting? The T-Trade provides training on writing high-quality summative assessment items that could be used on a future STAR assessment. The benefits: experienced writers, networking for teachers, assessment committees, and items banks. These are all things that the T-Trade program helps populate, build, and foster. Questions written in the writing assessment will go through multiple reviews before being recommended to one of the banks. Teachers attend an item training in Austin. The teachers write questions in an item writing platform. The teachers participate in peer review process to review the questions. TEA takes all of this and has 2 banks that they can put it into. Items with the highest rating move to educator review committees to be considered for field testing for the future STAR tests. The remaining ones are moved into TFAR bank for open classroom access. So nothing's going to waste here. We're going to take these items and populate open resources for all of us to use moving forward. If you go through the program, there's some CPE hours. You get some professional development at the highest level. A trip to Austin, you get to expand your network. TEA reviews the items that you use and will give you feedback so that you can go back and improve your instructional practice. And there's also a thing called money. You do get a stipend for doing this as well. So all of this, if you're accepted into the program, can be yours and can help improve your instructional practices. So this is a little bit different from what they've done in the past. I think they've done a flat rate before, but this is what they pointed out in TASM, that math teachers participating in this training will receive up to $25 per item and 50 CPE hours. So it's no longer a pilot. It's now open to math educators who work in grades 3 through 5. So if you're not grades 3 through 5, I'm sorry, it's not going to be with you today, but grades 3 through 5 can do that this year. The items are accepted for either TFAR or STAR review committees. For that, the items that are accepted are $25. The items that are not accepted, you still get paid. You get paid $12.50 per item, and you get the 25 hours for both the training in round 1 and the completing of round 2. So you can make up to $300 for your efforts, as well as the 50 CPE hours. Again, they wanted us to emphasize this year, they work with grades 3 through 5. But it's open to teachers, instructional coaches, district math personnel, and ESC specialists. Applications are due March 6th, which is coming up really, really soon, if not have already passed. But here is a QR code link to get there. You can also get there through some other links through TEA. Currently, July 10th through 13th is the actual days that they're going to bring you down. And also there is an optional tech check on the day before, so you can get down and make sure all your technology is going to be compatible for what they need to do. The benefits for participating in the Star Educator item review committees. So these are item review committees that are coming up. So now that they've written all these questions, you need committees to make sure we look at them. So we have those committees for all levels, as well as, so they review potential STAR items that need to be reviewed before they're recommended to the field test. They do recommend changes to items. They share the knowledge with multiple educators across Texas. And this one is 16 to 36 hours of CPE. So to register for one of our committees in the system, classroom teachers, instructional coaches, campus and district content specialists, campus administrators can serve in a variety of ways. You can be an educator item review. You can be a subject area advisory group or standard setting groups to convene to establish cut scores that define performance levels. All of these are committees that you can apply for through TEA. You can use that QR code right there, or go through the TEA website and just search for educator committee application. So this is the end of the assessment presentation from TASM. If you have any questions or you would like to offer some suggestions to them, there's a QR code there to offer your input. But the people to reach out to would be Carrie Alexander, Donna Fontenot, and Eric Pinter. And the current director of Math, Science, and Social Studies is Joanne Bilderbeck. So I hope this has been informative, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at ESC Region 11, and we will be happy to help you in any way we can. Thank you very much, and have an awesome, awesome day.